So I hope you understand all the calculations, but the important thing is make sure you book your lightning lane and make sure you put your Genie Plus and remember the 2 hours.
This was me just a few weeks ago, confused and overwhelmed by Disney's new Genie Plus system and how I was going to use it on our holiday. If this sounds like you, don't worry, because in this video we're going to explain how to use Disney's Genie Plus system at Walt Disney World. Welcome to Rob on Holiday's Genie Plus Masterclass. Genie Plus can be a confusing system, and the first thing that's going to confuse you are all the terms and definitions used. So let's have a look at some of the definitions that can help you get up and running with the system. There are 3 different levels to Disney Genie. First, there's the free version of Genie. This is a planning tool in the My Disney Experience app which generates a suggested itinerary for your day in the park. Anyone with a valid park admission can use this service by setting up their day and selecting their ride, food and entertainment preferences. Free Genie also includes predicted wait times for all your attractions, which is a really useful tool to help you to decide when is best to ride. Although Free Genie is useful, it does not allow you to skip any lines. What you need is Genie Plus, and that's what we're going to be covering in this video. Put simply, Genie Plus is an advanced reservation system that lets you skip the standby line. If you've ever been to Walt Disney World before and used the FastPass system, forget about that because Genie Plus is the replacement from that. And what you're doing with Genie Plus is booking your place in the Lightning Lane. The Lightning Lane is a system that gets you on the ride faster. The standby queue is the one where you'll have to wait a long time. Let's just explain Lightning Lane. Lightning Lane means 2 things. It's the physical line that you will stand in when you booked a place, because as I say, there's a lightning lane and a standby lane, and usually they're both clearly marked outside each ride. Now when people say I've got a lightning lane, that means they've used Genie Plus to reserve their ride at a certain time. Anyway, back to Genie Plus. Genie Plus is a paid service which allows you to book slots to skip the standby line at most of the attractions in Walt Disney World. The price of Genie Plus varies from day to day, but the minimum you can expect to be spending is around $20 per day per person. The price also varies according to the park you plan to visit. You can either book Genie Plus for just one park or for use in multiple parks, which is an upcharge. So what rides can I use Genie Plus on? Well, the basic answer is pretty much all of them, but there's one very important point to note. In every park there's 1 ride, and in Magic Kingdom 2 rides, that you have to use an individual lightning lane on, and that means that they don't come free as part of Genie Plus. You have to actually pay for those rides separately. Now let's go through those rides. In Hollywood Studios, there's Rise of the Resistance. In the Magic Kingdom, there's the Dwarves Mine Train and Tron. In Epcot, there's Guardians of the Galaxy. And in Animal Kingdom, there's Flight of Passage. Just like Genie Plus, individual lightning lane prices vary from day to day and from ride to ride. On the screen, you can see the prices for each ride on the 18th of July 2023. As you can see, using this system can get very expensive, especially if you buy both Genie Plus and individual lightning lane on the same day. So, to summarise, Disney Genie is a free planning tool, but Genie Plus is the paid replacement for FastPass, allowing you to book slots to skip the line at most attractions. And individual lightning lanes are available at the most popular attraction in each park and work on a pay-per-ride basis to skip the line. Now let's get down to the mechanics of using Genie Plus. To make things easier to follow, we're going to take things through the day, from the start of the day to the end of the day. The first time that's important is midnight. This is the first time you can purchase Genie Plus for that day. Now don't worry, this doesn't mean you have to get up at midnight. I'm just mentioning it so that if you really wanted to go to a certain park on a certain day and use Genie Plus, that's the first time you can do it. But you can purchase Genie Plus for that park at any point during the day. But you probably want to have your Genie Plus purchase sorted out before 7 a.m. And the reason I mention this is because this is the next important time in the day. 7 a.m. is the first time that you can purchase either a Genie Plus ride or an individual lightning lane. So at 7 a.m. you can reserve 1 Genie Plus ride and up to 2 individual purchase lightning lanes. So after 7 a.m. you've got your individual lightning lanes and Genie Plus reservation in place. You're ready to start the day and head to the parks. And the next question you might ask is, well, when can I book my next Genie Plus ride? Well, being Disney, it's quite complicated and there are 2 possibilities. So we're going to call case 1 the simple case. As soon as you have used your first Genie Plus reservation, you can book your next one. and you could carry on like that all day. So the second pathway to using Genie Plus is what we call the 2-hour rule. The 2-hour rule means that you can book a new lightning lane 2 hours after you book the previous one if you haven't already tapped in at the first ride you booked. There's just one exception to the 2-hour rule though, and that is that the 2-hour period can only begin once the park is open. So if you book a lightning lane at 7 AM for later in the afternoon, the 2 hours you have to wait until booking your next lightning lane only begins when the park opens at 9 AM. The 2-hour rule is a really good addition to the system because it means that you're not going to be locked out of the system for say 6 hours or more. Because what it means is you could have a relaxing day by the pool, or rather a relaxing morning by the pool, and then every 2 hours you can be booking a ride, and then you'll have a jam-packed evening to look forward to. So we call this stacking, because you're booking rides regularly through the day and stacking them up for use later on in the evening. So basically you can book your next lightning lane either when you've used your previous one or 2 hours after you've booked your previous one, whichever of these times comes first. It all sounds a bit confusing, doesn't it? Well, don't worry, because Disney has now added a feature in the app telling you exactly when you can book your next lightning lane. So if you're not sure, just check the app. Before we move on to a demonstration of Genie Plus in action, there's just a few more rules that you need to know about. First, both Genie Plus and individual lightning lanes are hour-long slots. That means that you can come back to ride the attraction at any point in that hour. On the individual lightning lane purchases, because you're paying money, you can select whatever time you want throughout the day. But that doesn't apply to the Genie Plus reservations. When it comes up on your app, you have to accept the first time that's available that comes up on the app. But don't worry, because if that time isn't a time you want, make sure you reserve it anyway, and you can keep going in and adjusting the time as the day goes on. To modify a lightning lane, you simply click on your existing booking, click Modify Selection, and then you can choose to update the time of the lightning lane for the same ride or change it to a different ride. This is a really useful feature to push back the time if the original one that you're given is too early, which is something that we did on several occasions. So what we recommend is always having one Genie Plus booking live in the system, because you can always edit it and change it as you need. Another important point to note is you can't use Genie Plus or individual lightning lanes on a ride that you've already booked during the day. So if you've used it on Big Thunder Mountain, you cannot use it again that day on Big Thunder Mountain again. Wow, that was a lot of rules, right? See what I mean when I say it's complicated? Anyway, I think the best way to understand Genie Plus and how these rules work is to take you through a typical morning in the park where we'd use Genie Plus. Step 1. Wake up around 6:30 to purchase Genie Plus and set up your day in the My Disney Experience app. Setting up your day is something that I recommend you do, as it will make the process of booking your first lightning lane of the day so much easier. This is because when you select your ride preferences, the system moves these rides to the top of your tip board. This means that you don't have to scroll down when refreshing the page for new lightning lane times. So when setting up your day, I recommend only selecting 2 or 3 rides you're considering booking at 7 AM. You can modify your selections later to use this tip for all future lightning lane bookings throughout the day. In this example, I selected Navi River Journey and Flight of Passage because I wanted to head over to Pandora first thing. Step 2. Have the app open on your phone and ready to go at 6:59 AM. I recommend having someone monitor the exact time on another phone so you can refresh the page as soon as the time ticks over to 7 AM. This is particularly important if you want to go for the most popular rides. Step 3. At 7 AM, refresh the page by pulling the screen down to book your first lightning lane and up to 2 individual lightning lanes. In general, I would recommend booking the lightning lane first, followed by the individual lightning lane, as this will take you a bit longer to book because you had to confirm payment. To book a lightning lane, click Book Experience. Confirm your party and then click to confirm the booking. You may notice that a time is not displayed on the first screen. The next time available is only displayed from 7:30 AM onwards to avoid overloading the system at 7 AM, with everyone constantly refreshing until a time they want appears. Don't worry about this, you can always try to modify the time later anyway. When booking your individual lightning lane, you will notice you can select any time you want throughout the day. The booking process will be easier if you already have a credit card associated with your My Disney Experience account, as you can simply select this when you reach the payment screen. In this example, I booked Navi River Journey for 8:10 a.m. and an individual lightning lane for Flight of Passage at 8:30 a.m. The next time I can book a lightning lane is 8:10 a.m. when I've used my Navi River Journey lightning lane. Step 4. Head to the park. I had booked lightning lanes very early in the day, so when I got to Animal Kingdom, I got some breakfast and then explored some of the trails around the Tree of Life. Step 5. At 8:10 a.m, I tapped into Navi River Journey, and then at 8:15 a.m, I booked my next lightning lane for Kali River Rapids at 9:50 a.m. Note that there are some attractions that have 2 touch points, so you should wait until you have passed the second touch point or you've already merged with the standby queue to book your next lightning lane. I can book my next lightning lane when I use this one for Kali River Rapids. Step 6. After Navi River Journey, I tapped in for my individual lightning lane at Flight of Passage. I then spent the next hour riding Dinosaur using the standby line and Expedition Everest using the single rider line. This is a good moment to point out that the best way to use Genie Plus is in conjunction with other queuing methods. Use any time you have in between your lightning lanes to ride attractions with shorter wait times. Step 7. After redeeming my lightning lane at Kali River Rapids, I booked a new one for Kilimanjaro Safaris at 10:55 a.m. I used the spare time between the 2 rides to take in some entertainment in the Africa section of the park. Step 8. I tapped into Kilimanjaro Safaris at 11 a.m. and then booked a lightning lane for the Festival of the Lion King at 11:30 a.m. You might notice that the time slot for Festival of the Lion King is only 20 minutes long. This is the case for all shows. If you want to use a lightning lane for a show, which I definitely recommend for this one, you must arrive and tap in 10 to 30 minutes before showtime to ensure that everyone is seated in time. After Festival of the Lion King, I headed back to my hotel, having had a successful day at Animal Kingdom, but I could have carried on using Genie Plus like this for the rest of the day. Before we move on to my review, a few final top tips to make the most of Genie Plus. Tip 1. Set an alarm to remind you when it's time to book your next lightning lane. Tip 2. Always hold at least one lightning lane. You can always modify or cancel it later anyway. Tip 3. Set up your day in the Genie Plus system before 7 a.m, only selecting the first ride you want to book. And finally, tip 4. Remember to wait until you have it tapped in twice to book your next lightning lane. So after all those rules and explanations and demonstrations, I'm going to finish with my review of Genie Plus. In other words, do I think you need Genie Plus? Well, the simple answer is yes, you're probably going to need it, especially if you're visiting Walt Disney World at one of the busy times in the summer. But what I would say is if you've got to make a choice between you've only got enough money to use it some days and not others, the 2 parks that you really need to use it in are Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. Magic Kingdom simply because it's always such a busy park with so many rides, and Hollywood Studios has some of the latest rides there. I think if you're going to Epcot or Animal Kingdom, you can get away without the Genie Plus system, but maybe, say in Animal Kingdom, the most popular ride is Flight of Passage, you might want to pay for an individual lightning lane there. Paying for Flight of Passage is something that we did on a couple of occasions, and it really helped us get on more rides around Animal Kingdom on those days. And the simple fact is that if you're using Genie Plus, you're going to get more out of your day. And the thing is, if you're one of the people who hasn't got Genie Plus, and there are lots of other people who are using Genie Plus, you're going to be in the standby lane and you're going to get more and more frustrated as lots and lots of people get through the lightning lane and only a few are getting through from the standby lane, because of course that's the way the system operates. To demonstrate this, we created a little simulation. Let's say that at Big Thunder Mountain, the cast member lets just 1 person through the standby line for every 5 coming through the lightning lane. As you can see, this means that per train, only 6 standby guests boarded compared with 24 guests who paid for Genie Plus. Multiply this up and you'll see a big difference in the number of guests riding from the standby queue per hour compared with the lightning lane. I'm sure you can see how frustrating this would get in the standby line. I've already mentioned Flight of Passage in Animal Kingdom, which is definitely worth purchasing an individual lightning lane. There are another couple of rides that I would mention. The Neutron, which is a new ride in Magic Kingdom, gets very busy, and it's definitely worth purchasing an individual lightning lane on, something we did a couple of occasions. And of course, Rise of the Resistance in Hollywood Studios. Now, of course, whether you use Genie Plus and the paid individual lightning lanes may depend on how often you come to Walt Disney World and where you're from. For example, we're from the UK and we're only going to come maximum once a year, maybe once every few years. Some people are going to come because it's their once in a lifetime trip. Well, if you're going to do that, it's definitely worth setting aside some money in your budget so that you can ride these individual lightning lanes and use Genie Plus to get the most out of your experience. If you live in the US and you're only a couple of hours flight away, maybe you go once or twice every year to Disney World. So maybe you might think it's not worth it because you come into Disney World quite often, you're happy to wait, and if you miss a ride, it's not a problem because you'll go on it next time. You've got to think about that before deciding whether to shell out this money for Genie Plus. Thanks for watching Rob on Holiday, and we hope our explanation of Genie Plus will help you when you visit Walt Disney World. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit the subscribe button because it really helps our channel. Anyway, thanks for watching and keep an eye out for more great videos.